What happens to NATO when talk of taking Greenland by force is back on the table, and Ottawa is bracing for stalled U.S. trade talks? Queer Ottawa weather around 0 degrees Celsius this afternoon, near 3, dipping to -5 tonight, and no rain or snow. International tensions are bleeding into Canada's agenda. President Donald Trump says the United States will support NATO, while his White House has not ruled out using military force to assert control over Greenland, an idea unsettling allies, including Canada. Trump repeated that he pushed NATO members to boost defense spending, argued Russia and China don't fear NATO without U.S. muscle, and questioned whether NATO would back the U.S. when needed. He also revisited the Greenland idea in the wake of the U.S. operation that captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, according to U.S. accounts. Canada and other NATO partners have responded by underscoring that Greenland's future is for Denmark and Greenland to decide. Prime Minister Mark Carney's office says Ottawa supports Greenland's sovereignty and is planning diplomatic engagements in the region. The signal from Canada: collective security still depends on rules, not unilateral moves. Those same tensions are rippling through Canadian travel plans. After the U.S. strike in Venezuela and the seizure of Maduro and Celia Flores, travel agents report Canadians are canceling trips to Caribbean islands near the Venezuelan coast, Curaçao, Aruba, and Bonaire. The ABC Islands rely heavily on tourism, and proximity anxiety is already hitting bookings. If you've got a winter getaway planned, advisories can change quickly. Travelers are weighing refunds versus credits as the situation evolves. At home, Ottawa will host a high-stakes gathering. Later this month, Prime Minister Carney sits down with Canada's premiers after a working dinner in the capital. The agenda: global tensions, stalled trade talks with the U.S., and targeted help for industries squeezed by American tariffs, steel, aluminum, and softwood lumber among them. Expect infrastructure to feature, as well as the review of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Agreement. Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc is set to meet U.S. counterparts to kick off formal CUSMA discussions. The timing is notable. The Conservative Party holds its national convention with a leadership review for Pierre Poilievre. Injecting domestic politics into Canada's trade posture. On governance and climate, Ottawa will be a hub at month's end. Thomas Yeo of Tories LLP is slated to speak at the 21st Annual Conference on Crown Corporate Governance here January 28 to 29. Tories also released its 2025 Climate Disclosure Report, cited by the Globe and Mail in a look at where ESG is headed in Canada. The takeaway for public sector boards and Crown corporations: climate risk reporting is moving from nice to have to regulated expectation. Watch for more standardized disclosures and, increasingly, the use of AI to surface physical and transition risk hotspots from sprawling datasets, so decision makers can prioritize resilience dollars where they matter most. Public safety is back in focus after Ottawa tested the mechanics of its national gun buyback. In a 6-week trial in Nova Scotia last fall, the federal government collected and destroyed 25 firearms prohibited since the May 2020 ban on about 2,500 models deemed suitable only for military use. The pilot flagged the need for clearer, faster instructions and featured a dedicated call center, tighter registration windows, and a tutorial video, process tweaks that will inform the national rollout. Ottawa has set aside over $700 million for fair compensation. The early lesson: straightforward steps and live support drive participation. Complex paperwork slows it down. Sports now, and the Sens hit a speed bump in Utah. Ottawa controlled long stretches but fell 3-1 to the Mammoth, their first franchise loss against that club, dropping the all-time mark to 3-1. Goaltender Karel Vejmelka stole the night for Utah with 33 saves. Ridley Greig kept his personal streak alive, scoring in all 4 at his games versus Utah, but it wasn't enough. Concern is rising around Ottawa's crease after Leevi Meriläinen allowed 4 goals on 9 shots in the previous game against Detroit. Forward Dylan Cozens was upbeat post-game, saying he believes the Senators are the better team despite the result. They just couldn't find the finish. Adding to Utah's buzz, the NHL tapped the market to host the 2027 Winter Classic, a marquee date that underscores the league's confidence in its newest outpost. Some good news from our university community. 6 members of the Carleton family have been appointed to the Order of Canada, Among them, former Supreme Court Justice Rosalie Silberman Abella becomes a companion for her profound impact on social and legal policy and human rights, and Janice Charette is named an officer for her decades of public service, including as clerk of the Privy Council and a leading diplomat. It's a reminder that Ottawa's influence stretches well beyond the capital's borders, into courtrooms, classrooms, and global institutions. Energy and climate resilience are also on the provincial docket. Queen's Park has approved an underwater transmission line from the Darlington Nuclear Generating Station beneath Lake Ontario to bolster Toronto's grid. The project would add about 900 megawatts, enough capacity to support 285,000 new homes and thousands of jobs. Running under the lake is projected to be more direct, cheaper, and less exposed to extreme weather than overland routes. It's also the first competitive transmission procurement led by the IESO, aimed at driving down costs. As major cities electrify heating, transit, and industry, projects like this one are the quiet backbone of climate targets, where engineering, permitting, finance, and increasingly AI-driven grid planning have to line up. Circling back to the top story, the NATO Greenland flare-up is a test of both alliances and markets. For Canada, the strategy appears two-track: shore up diplomatic norms with allies while protecting industries at home through tariff relief, infrastructure, and a united provincial federal front. For travelers and businesses, it's a week to keep an eye on advisories, and for hockey fans, a week to hope the Sens' underlying play starts cashing in. Before we go, one more check on Ottawa's day. Around 0 degrees Celsius this afternoon, near 3, down to -5 tonight, and no rain or snow. If you've got a tip, from City Hall, the Lab Bench, or the Blue Line, send it our way. Thanks for listening.